All right, let's talk about the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups for the Open Championship. Now, if you didn't already know, I like going over this segment because it gives us an idea how to start our lineups and what to do with the current information we have compared to previous versions of this tournament, or even just different tournaments with similar data. Salaries are a power ranking. DraftKings aren't stupid. They're not stupid. They rank their golfers based off of the salaries they provide them. And Scottie Scheffler is the most expensive golfer in the field. If you haven't taken a look yet, he's $14,200. So we have to do something with that information. If we want to build lineups with Scottie Scheffler, we have to figure out what kind of lineups would work with a golfer that expensive. So I will cover that in this video, and I will also just cover how every pass optimal and GPP winning lineup look like for the Open Championship. But before I do that, I just want to remind you guys, I do have giveaways going on this week. One of them is the Open Championship Win the Pot giveaway. Now, it starts at $20, and I will add $2 for every one new subscriber. So you can see all the way over to the left, I do have a goal. Currently, we're at 861 out of 900 subscribers. So if we can get 39 new subscribers, I know that's a lofty goal, I will double the pot. Now, don't be deterred because I'm still giving away $20 cash. Straight cash, homie. 20 bucks. And for every one new subscriber, yet again, I'm adding $2. So, if you want an entry into this giveaway, comment down below and comment on any of the videos that I've posted this week for the Open Championship. You get one entry per video. And again, I'm still running a giveaway. $20 is going to be given away. Maybe even more, depending on how many subscribers come to this channel. So share with your family, share with your friends. Let's try to get this giveaway up as high as possible. The other one that I'm doing is a SweetSpotDFS.com giveaway. If you didn't already know, I have a website. And if you go sign up, create a free account, you don't have to put any money into it. You will get an entry just automatically into this giveaway. And once I reach 1,000 subscribers on this channel, I'm going to give away $1,000. So again, if you want to be a part of this giveaway, go sign up. There's a link in the description. Go sign up at SweetSpotDFS.com. Just create a free account. Simple as that. All right, back to the video. What I like to do is first look at the tournament at hand. So we're obviously at the Open Championship. So this is my website, SweetSpotDFS.com. If you go to past salary builds, it'll bring you to this page right here. And in this little drop down, go ahead and type in the Open. So the Open Championship, we drill down on that, and we're going to see the most common lineup builds for 3 types of lineups. One is the GPP winning lineup, another is the optimal lineup, and the other is a sweet spot optimal. Now, what you need to know about the Sweet Spot Optimal is it's the best lineup that uses $49,600 of the salary and above. If there isn't a lineup that's good enough to take down a GPP that's $49,600 and above, I will then just create the next best lineup, whatever salary point that would be. I think the lowest I've ever seen is $49,200. But that's very, I think that was a one-off time. And then there was another one that's $49,400. That's also a one-off thing. But most of the time it's $49,600 and above for the Sweet Spot Optimal. And of course, we can take a look at just the Sweet Spot Optimal by only drilling down on that lineup. If you are a member on this website, you can go ahead and use this page. And these are filter buttons right here. So Sweet Spot Optimal, if I go top to bottom salary used, you can see $49,600 is the cheapest lineup that I've recorded for the Sweet Spot Optimal. So one way to look at this is maybe we only care about the GPP winning lineup, because obviously this guy, whoever won, or these people, could be a guy or a woman, whoever won the GPP, most of these, I think at least 3 of these are the Millie Maker lineup, if not all of them, could be the $5 GPP winner. But either way, either someone won $1 million following these lineups or someone won 50,000 or more. So if you just want to take a look at the GPP winning lineup, if you look, nobody left more than $200 on the table. In 2021, the salary used was $49,800. In 2022, 49,900, and the other 3 years used up all 50,000 of the salary. You're going to hear throughout the industry, oh yeah, this is a perfect time to leave money on the table. It's the only way to get different. It's the only way to get different. You want to be different when winning $1 million. Otherwise, you might share $1 million with everybody. It's all nonsense. Stupid. I absolutely hate it. That's why I record all of it. I have the data now. Like, you can go to SweetSpotDFS.com and take a look. The data doesn't lie. The data does not lie. So you don't have to leave a lot of money on the table. In fact, I encourage you not to. 49,600 is the lowest amount of salary I will spend. I won't leave more than $400 on the table. There's just absolutely no point in doing so. And you can see that the GPP winning lineup did not leave a lot of money on the table. Now, you can see the different type of salary builds. I have it broken out in like 10K, 10K, 6, 6, 6, 6. That was one of them. But it's an easy way to read this data, is just kind of following it this way. I always encourage you to start building a lineup with a 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 type of start to your builds. You can make up to 2 substitutions. And really what that means, I know that might have been fast for some people, but you start your lineup with a 10K golfer, and then a 9K, then an 8K, 2 7s, and then a 6K golfer. That's where I like to start it, but then you can make substitutions. Now, this lineup here, when was this? Last year's lineup, 10, 10, and then 4 6Ks. This is a bit misleading, because if I go and take a look, this might not technically be 4 6Ks. And let me explain. I just want to take a look first at what the salaries were. Okay. I'm going to sort this for you guys from top to bottom with salaries. And I want you guys to understand something. Normally, DraftKings does this type of breakdown when it comes to salaries. You usually have 4 to 5 10K golfers. Then you have somewhere between 5 to 7 9K golfers, but we'll just call it 6 to 7. So between the 10K and the 9K, most events, you will have 11 9K and above golfers. Most events. Sometimes maybe 10, but most events it'll be 11 and above. And then you'll have 10 8K golfers. So now we have 21 golfers that are 8K and above. And then you normally have about 35 7K golfers in a 156-man field. And then it goes like 45 and then 50 for the high 6K range and then the low 6K range. Well, last year, DraftKings has been messing around with this, and you also have the same thing this year. You have a 5K range. So dumb, so stupid. I hate it. Maybe you guys like it. It allows for easier lineup building. But I always create a price conversion when it comes to this. And I do include this in the cheat sheet that I provide every single week. If you want to check out where the cheat sheet is, go down in the description, go to SweetSpotDFS, click the link for SweetSpotDFS.com. And this is free. You do not have to pay in order to get this. But then when you come to the website, under Fantasy Tools, drill down on cheat sheet. And then scroll down to the bottom and click here for cheat sheet. And it'll bring up the cheat sheet. I have a price conversion tool on this whole overall spreadsheet. And the conversion is basically looking at past DraftKings contests and putting out an average salary for those golfers and comparing it to the salary of the golfers this week at the Open Championship. So the salaries that you see in column D, basically these 3 columns are from DraftKings for the 2025 Open Championship. The adjusted salary is just what we see normally in each DraftKings event. So you see I have 4 10Ks and I have 7 9Ks as well as 10 8Ks. Now the last 8K golfer is actually $7,500. But if I was to convert this to what it normally is every single year, it'd be $8,000. So going back to what I was talking about, if I do the same little method, if I just go 5, we'll go 5 10K golfers, and then I'll do 6 9K golfers, and then we'll go 10 8K golfers. Sorry, let me do that over. I hit the wrong button. So we'll go 5 into 6, and this would start the 8K range right here, Brooks Koepka. So 8K down to, I want 10 golfers. So Neiman at $7,800 would be the last 8K golfer. And then it goes into the 7K range. And basically I want 35 golfers, and I'm going to use Excel's little count function that you can't see, but it's down here in the bottom right, to get to 35 golfers. And I think it's going to go all the way to Keegan Bradley. This would be 32. I'm going to include to Jordan Smith. There's 37. This is perfect. Technically, these are all the golfers in the 7K range. This is what I would consider a 7K golfer. And unfortunately, I didn't make the updates on the website. I'm going to have to do that because I don't like how it looks. Actually, maybe I'll keep it because that'll avoid confusion furthermore. But what you can see is Billy Horschel, $6,500. Russell Henley is $6,700. They're all part of the optimal lineup. They're all part of the GPP and the sweet spot. Justin Rose, $6,900. But we're taking a look at the GPP winning lineup. So that was Sung Jae. So $6,900. So 69, 67, 65. And it was just those three golfers in what I would call the 7K range. So although the website says 6K, I'm treating three of these golfers as if they were 7K golfers. And then that last golfer, you can also use this tool here, was actually $5,900. And that's considered a 6K golfer. And I'm actually, that'd be a high 6K golfer. So, and that's what you can see here. 6HK means 6 high K, 6LK means 6 low K. So I want that to be out there. And again, I apologize for that being confusing and it not being clear on the website. When I first built this website, I basically did a bunch of formulas that only looked at the salary. And the salary told us that, hey, that's a $6,900 Sung Jae Im, so he's a 6K golfer. It didn't know that I had rules based off of the conversions that I typically do. So that is something I'll have to do as a cleanup, but I'm glad to have spotted it here and let you guys know. So technically, if you're using the price conversion tool on a cheat sheet this year for the Open Championship, this lineup here that says 10-10 and then 4 6Ks is actually 10-10, 3 7Ks and 1 6K. And again, you can use the cheat sheet that does this price conversion. So Sam Burns at $7,400 down to Byung-Hun An at $6,400. That's all considered the 7K range. And you can see I'm highlighting everybody in the 7K range right now. So be aware of that. Anyone down to $6,400, I am going to consider a 7K golfer. So if you want to load up on 3 of these guys right here, that'll be very similar to what it looked like last year. So, and I'm not saying just do that absolutely. Like, don't just copy and paste, but I still want to make that known to you guys for when you build lineups. And if you're going to use the website, just to throw that out there. And if you want to know what these lineups, like the actual golfers in the lineup, you can also do that on another tool that I have called Pass Optimals. If you drill down and you put in the tournament, not the tour, the Open. The Open Championship 2024, and the lineup that you want to choose would be the GPP winning lineup, because obviously that's what we were just looking at. So you can see who the golfers were. Scottie Scheffler finished 7th. He was $12,800. Xander won the tournament. He was first, and it's $6,900 Sung Jae. We saw this in the last sheet that I showed you. $6,700 Russell Henley, $6,500 Billy Horschel, and $5,900 Shubhankar Sharma. So you can take a look at which golfers these are between the two tools. This one will just show you kind of the zoomed out view as to how a lineup is built, and then you can do the zoom in view with the Pass Optimal page here and just find the tournament that you want to look at and the year that you want to look at, as well as the lineup, and you'll see the golfers that are a part of it. Now you can use this tool or either of these tools however you want, but this is what I would do first when looking at the Open Championship. Personally, I'm more interested in the Sweet Spot Optimal and the GPP winning lineup, but I also like to look at optimal lineups just to see which lineup used close to 40 or close to the $50,000 salary. So the 2022 Open Championship, that was a 998876, and that is more of a traditional build. There's no 5K range back in 2022. So again, that's a 998876. Now, I did say you can make up to 2 substitutions, and this actually would be 2 substitutions. So you know how I said start with a 10K, a 9K, an 8K, 2 7Ks, and a 6K, and you can make up to 2 substitutions? Well, this lineup right here would be subbing a 10 down to a 9. So now we have 2 9s. And then it would be subbing one of the 2 7s up to an 8, and that's how you get 2 8s. So technically, this is 2 substitutions. Instead of a 10 9 8 7 7 6, we have a 9 9 8 8 7 6. So that's how I look at building lineups. We actually had 3 lineups that used 49,600 and above. And believe it or not, I shouldn't say believe it or not, there are different ways to get there. One lineup uses a 998876, another goes 10887776, and another goes 9947Ks. That's crazy. And that actually is more than 2 substitutions. That'd be 3. But this one only used 1 substitution. 10, 2 8s, 2 7s, and a 6. You sub a 9 down to an 8, and that's what you get. Now, there's another layer, another wrinkle to all of this. It's looking at price points. And thankfully, I had somebody in the, or a lifetime member at SweetSpotDFS.com tell me or suggest a different type of filter. So if you didn't know, you can add more filters to this page. And really what I want to do is first change the salary used to 49,600 to 50,000 because I want to use that much salary, somewhere between 49,600 and 50,000. Then for max salary, this is just the most expensive golfer in the lineup. If you want to build a Scottie Scheffler lineup, what I would suggest doing, since he's 14,200, is go into here, change this left number to 13,600. This would be the least or the lowest price point for the most expensive golfer you want it in your lineup. And then on this side, I would just put in 14. Let's just do 14.6. Let's create like $10,000 between the two. And then just hit less filters. And basically what this will do is if there was ever a time a golfer was priced up this much, it will show us the lineups that it was built in. And what you can see is in 2025, the Charles Schwab Challenge had a GPP winning lineup as well as an optimal lineup that used a golfer that had $13,700. That's obviously Scottie Scheffler. And then the 2025 US Open had a GPP winner, the guy who won $1 million, had Scottie Scheffler in it at 14,400. So there's only 3 lineups that have ever had this expensive of a golfer in it that wasn't a part of the Tour Championship. So it's worth noting that, and it's also worth saying this. Look at the lineup builds: 10, 8, 7, 6, 6, 6, 10, 9, and 4 7Ks. So if you were worried about building a lineup with Scottie, you can still have either an 8K golfer in it as well as a 9K golfer. And again, we can drill down, or we can go to the Pass Optimal page or that tool and take a look at what these lineups are. So it's both years or both tournaments are in 2025, Charles Schwab, GPP, as well as the optimal lineup. So I will go to that tool and let's go ahead and put in 2025. Let's clear out these other filters and let's put for the tournament, let's just do the Charles Schwab Challenge first. So the 2025 Charles Schwab Challenge, again, we're looking at the optimal and the GPP winning lineup. So if we go into the GPP winning lineup, we can see what the actual, salaries were for these golfers. Scheffler at 13,700, Ben Griffin at 8,700, so a high 8K golfer. And then you had a $7,800 golfer, 69, 67, 62. And that's without a 5K range. I remember that for the Charles Schwab Challenge. There was not a 5K range. So if you wanted to build a lineup like this, this is what you would follow. Or you want to build a lineup similar to this, this is what you'd follow. And again, I mentioned this during the DraftKings first look. I think I mentioned it during the course and tournament information. But if I go to, let me go to this page. If I take a look at the golfers that are in the 7K range. So again, going here, $7,800, then I go 69, 67. Let's do that, 78, 69, 67. So for 78, Matt Fitzpatrick seems to be playing pretty well right now. Why not put him in your lap? You can even go up to 8K Brooks Koepka, but just to stick around the 7K range, Justin Rose is at $7,600. Jordan Spieth is at 77. Matsuyama's at 75. Burns and Straka, which I think are incredible value plays, are both $7,400. So again, if I go back to here and I take a look, Bud Cauley at $7,800. Now, the Charles Schwab Challenge field is not as strong as the Open Championship. However, this is where you can kind of compare the caliber of golfers at these price points. In the Charles Schwab Challenge, Bud Cauley, I would say, is a B-tier golfer. If I go to this year's Open, do I think Sam Burns and Sepp Straka are B-tier golfers for this field? I'd say B+ at the lowest, honestly. I think there's some crazy pricing. Like either of these golfers should be where Brooks Koepka is, as well as Jaco Niemann, or even Patrick Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay has not been playing super great golf, not compared to Burns and Straka. So right away, you get a discount and you could easily go to these golfers. But let's go into the 6K range since we saw that at the Charles Schwab Challenge. Are any of these guys in this field compared to Ricky Castillo, Matti Schmid, and Chris Ventura? I guarantee you two of these guys you probably haven't heard of, Castillo and Ventura. But if I compare that to this year's field, look at that. Sungjae, $6,900. Now, Sungjae's been struggling, but if I'm comparing Sungjae at the Open Championship versus Ricky Castillo versus in the Charles Schwab Challenge, I think Sungjae has a bit of an edge over that. Like comparatively and respectively, Sungjae is a better caliber golfer than Ricky Castillo in that field. Sungjae is a better caliber golfer in this field versus Ricky Castillo in the Charles Schwab Challenge. And same goes with most of these guys. Keegan Bradley just won at the Travelers Championship. Captain Keegan, better golfer than those guys. And you can make an argument. Harris English, $6,400. Again, if I go back, $6,200 Chris Ventura. Listen, I like Chris Ventura. I like Matti Schmid and Ricky Castillo on those typical weekly events on the PGA Tour. But when you compare them against these golfers here, even Byung-Hun An at $6,400, like the point I'm making with all of this is if you want to build a Scottie Scheffler lineup and you're kind of following the breakdown of golfers, in one of these winning lineups that's over $13,600, you have all the proof in the pudding as to how to construct this lineup. Don't be afraid to drop down in the 6K range and grab a couple of those 6K golfers. Same goes with the 7K range. Don't be afraid. US Open 2025. Let's take a look at that one. Okay. So US Open, and was it the GPP winning lineup? Yeah, GPP winning lineup. We take a look at this one. Now, technically, again, this shows 10, 9, and 4 7s, but because there's a 5K range and we had to do a price conversion, actually, this was converted. I apologize. This actually was converted. So conflicting, I understand. But that is a $14,400 Scottie Scheffler, $8,500 Victor Hovland. You can go up to $8,500. You want to know who that is this week? It's Justin Thomas, and just below him is Victor Hovland at $8,300. So throwing that out there. But going back, Sam Burns at $7,100. Then you get JJ Spawn $67, Bobby Mack $67, and Adam Scott $66. Golfers who shouldn't be in the 6K range, but because of how dumb DraftKings is with their pricing, and just how these golfers, the caliber of these golfers at that price point seems ridiculous. This allows you to build these types of lineups and just feel comfortable with it. So again, I'm going down to the 6K range. Who are those types of comps? US Open's a perfect comp to the Open just based off of DraftKings fields. So Adam Scott, 6,600, Bobby Mack at 67, JJ Spawn at 67. Okay. Can we compare anybody to Bobby Mack or Adam Scott or JJ Spawn? Dude, I think Adam Scott is down here, isn't he? Or maybe, was he 73? Oh, he is 73. Okay, never mind. I guess we Keegan Bradley is a good Adam Scott comp. They're not the same age. Or are they? No, they can't be, right? Adam Scott is 42. Keegan is 39. So yeah, they're about the same age. So perfect. I could use Keegan as my Adam Scott. Mark Leishman's 41. You could actually use Mark Leishman, although he hasn't, I mean, he's on the Live Tour and can't really say he's been playing super great golf, but you could compare him. JJ Spawn, he had a couple close calls. He almost won the Players Championship. So is there anybody in the field that almost won a signature event? I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it from this perspective. Let's take a look. I'm going to use, this is going to be kind of confusing for you guys, but I'm going to use this page here. And I want to look for someone who maybe finished a second place at either the Memorial or the Travelers. That's down here. Harris English finished 4th. Hey, that could be a JJ Spawn comp. That's fine by me. Anybody else? 5th place finish for Mav McNeely at the Memorial, $6,100. Hey, yeah, I could call him my JJ Spawn. He's not as close. Don't get me wrong, not as close, but I need someone to kind of represent that. I certainly can, and I think that's it that I can find that's like of note, because I'm looking at the Travelers, I'm looking at the Memorial. I suppose we could use the US Open. Why not? Carlos Ortiz finished 4th at the US Open. Seems pretty good. Taylor Pendrith finished 12th at the Memorial. Ricky Fowler finished 7th at the Memorial. Harris English 12th and 4th at those signature events. And that's probably it, really, for those low price guys. I mean, I did have Mav McNeely down here. Yeah, I don't have anyone else that I would consider to put in that JJ Spawn type of atmosphere. I'm just going to mention Russell Henley here at $7,900. Seems pretty decent. So yeah, lots of ways you can start your lineup builds. And I'd say this, don't be afraid of playing Scottie Scheffler at $14,200. I made the case in the DraftKings first look. I stand by it in this one too. So yeah, you can use these tools at SweetSpotDFS.com. There are usually filters included on these pages that you can use. Everything is customizable on here, or at least you can select several different things to look at. And then over here on the right is kind of your summary as to which lineup builds have shown up the most. What type of salary builds, I should say, have shown up the most within the GPP winning lineup, the optimal lineup, and the Sweet Spot optimal. But if you want to get even further down into the weeds, use the filters here to even narrow down your search to try to find the lineups that you want to build this week. So that's all that I have for you guys. Just again, quick reminder, giveaway, win the pot. You want a chance to win at least $20, if not more. I encourage you guys to comment on any of the videos. That's how you get entries into this giveaway. And of course, share with your friends and family. Try to get more people to join the channel. And that way we can boost up. We can add more money to this pot, because once again, one new subscriber equals $2 extra or $2 added to the pot. So subscribe and then comment to get your entry into the giveaway. That's all that I have for you guys. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.